All right, now that we have done our Shepherd's report for this statute, we are going to move back to our search and move on to the R of SRAC. So we've looked at our statute. Now we're going to move on to the regulations, and we're going to do that by coming to administrative codes and regulations. Really a couple of important things to highlight here. The first is, remember, the titles correspond. So the titles for the United States Code and the CFR will correspond. So Title 29 is really where we want to pump in here. We could also narrow down to administrative codes, which are going to give us those actual codified regulations. And we can narrow down to our jurisdiction, specifically CFR. is a really good, easy way to narrow down as well. One thing I forgot to mention when we were looking at the United States Code, but for any type of code or regulation, this is important, is the ability to print for free, right? So we all know the printers in the library, but doing it without all the annotations. So really, regulations mimic statutes in terms of the content they provide. You've got the language, you've got case notes that you can jump to that are other, cases that have interpreted this regulation broken down by topic. But specifically, when you're printing, I want to let you know about the ability to come to content-specific options and uncheck annotations. That way, when you print it, rather than printing, the 200 pages of annotations in addition to the language of the regulation, you can just limit it to that language rather than all those annotations. All right, so same deal. We'll dive in here. Probably what I would do in this case is use our search within results to more finely tune this results list, looking for an applicable regulation. I can tell you there isn't one actually on this point, so we're going to skip it for now. And we're going to move on to the next part of SRAC, which is administrative materials. So administrative materials are going to be other content developed by agencies. And what I would highlight for you here is coming over here and narrowing it down to your specific agency. So for most discrimination things, employment discrimination, we would go to the EEOC, but the FMLA is actually governed by the Department of Labor. So I'm going to narrow down to the Department of Labor, and this is going to limit us down to that controlling guidance and other documents created by agencies. And then last, but certainly not least, we are going to jump into cases. So case law searching is kind of the default, I feel like, for law school. So you might be thinking, why on earth is she having us do this last? Well, it's because it kind of is the best last step, because all of that other content was created through the rulemaking or legislative process, and this is just sussing it out, fleshing it out, if you will. So we can come to cases, and we can drill down using some important filters, search within results to make it more narrow factually, our particular jurisdiction, and then publication status can be really helpful as well, reported versus unreported. So we can use this list, but I actually want to suggest that we come here and run a different search from here. And the reason I want us to do that is because I want to show you the utility of something called search term map. So we're simply going to say FMLA and travel within the same sentence as care for. And I'm going to change this to this. See what we get. So it's going to run a search, and it's a terms and connector search, and it's going to bring us down to cases in 61. So that's a pretty good place to start, and then we can expand it out. And really what I want to highlight for you is this search term map. And what this really allows you to do is be very specific when you're previewing these cases. So we see reasonable jury could find that Ballard cared for her mother within the meaning of FMLA during the time she spent traveling to Las Vegas. Obviously, that's going to be very helpful. But then we can also see this proliferation of terms and kind of peruse through these cases to see more discussion before we actually jump into the opinion. So we'll come here, travel receipts. Maybe that one's not so on point, but this one's looking pretty good. And we have some sampling linked together. Let's see about this one. So, care for a spouse with serious health condition who seeks to travel abroad for purposes of faith-based healing. So we have a pretty good sampling of case law to dig in from looking right here. And this search term map is going to be really helpful to do that. So let's go ahead and open up this case to show you a couple of other features within the case that's going to be really helpful for you. Now, a few things we've already seen, right? So under the About This document, we've already, well, I guess this was not the one I was talking about. Never mind. Disregard what I was just about to say. Let's show you Activate Passages. So legal issue trail. So we have already talked about sometimes things are in dicta, right? Just dicta. But if you click legal issue trail, what it's going to do is create a little perforated line around various legal issues. So let's say the court didn't rule upon this, but we think it's a really good point of law. If we click Activate Passages and then click on the little perforated line, basically what it's going to do is create a legal issue. And this was a bad one, so let's try a different one. Stay tuned. Let's do this one. Although that looks really factually specific, so that might have been a bad one to do. Bear with me, folks. We will find one that is a good sample. Let's try this one. All right, there we go. So what the legal issue trail is going to do is it's going to be broken down into two parts. The first part is the authority that this case relies upon, and then the second part is later authority. And this is actually showing the same case title, so it's telling me there's actually a later reiteration of this opinion. Likely it was appealed again, and this was that opinion. So we definitely want to jump in there as well. So if it's something that was not reached in the opinion, it's just dicta, we want to follow those later cases to see if they did in fact reach an opinion on that. Alrighty, let's see if there was something else. Also, once we're in the opinion, make sure to take a look at the case summary before you actually read the case, just to help guide your reading. And then as you scroll down here, the headnotes, those points of law of the case, are going to be super helpful in terms of knowing what this court ruled upon and what you can cite to this case for, of course broken down by topic. And then copy citation. Make sure you come in here and use copy citation. I'd select standard, which is Blue Book. Click apply, and this is going to give you the Blue Book citation, which is nice and helpful to get you started. Now, you'll notice that there's some other jurisdictions, and you might be wondering, why on earth is there Tennessee? Doesn't Tennessee use Blue Book? Well, it does, but there's actually one appellate rule, so this is very helpful for appellate briefs. The appellate rule 27, I believe, deviates from Blue Book. So if you select Tennessee, it's going to be Blue Book with that single deviation incorporated. One other helpful thing to be aware of is if you're actually citing language within the opinion, you can highlight that language. You want to say copy. Again, you want to have standard selected, apply, and this will give you that citation, but it will also provide you the pen cite too. So that can be really helpful for drafting as well. And then, of course, we want to shepherd-ize this as well, just like we did our other authority. That beautiful positive symbol tells me we don't need to validate. We don't have to validate this law because there is no negative history. It's only positive. And then we can come here and take a look at our specific jurisdiction, narrow, just like we did when we were shepherdizing the statute by terms to make them more factually specific and get a really nice sampling of the cases. Now, before we're done with this, there are a couple of other things that are really helpful when doing brief searching specifically. And the first thing is, let's come over here, and I want to show you Shepard's Brief Check. So what Shepard's Brief Check allows you to do is actually upload the document, like so your brief, if you will, or opposing counsel's brief. And it will generate a report that is emailed to you. The report's going to include a quote check, Shepard signals for all the authority. There's also like a citation report, it won't change anything. It won't tell you what the answer is, but it will likely alert you if there's problems. Shepard's Brief Link will allow you to upload a document. It's going to email you the report, and it will basically create hot links within the document. History. So we're going to come over here to the research map. And the research map can be a really helpful research tool as well. So what this allows you to do is come in here and kind of get a graphical overview of the research you've done. But then it will also allow you to utilize some of the research you've done to grab additional resources. So we could say, select this document to find similar, and then you find similar, and it's going to take that document and kind of search on the back end looking for documents that are similar in terms of facts and legal issues. So it's like one more last check, if you will. Oh, I forgot to show you on the Shepherd's Report to make sure you set up an alert. So let me show you that really quickly because it is really important for briefs specifically. Once you're in a Shepherd's Report and you've run the Shepherd's Report, remember they are living, breathing documents. They change with the winds of the courts. And so you want to go in there and set up an alert each time you have a main case that you're relying upon, and you can choose how to select it. So you can say, I only want negative changes, or I want any changes. I want it delivered to me via email at this time every day, or I only want it to pop up on my screen when I log on, really however you want. And then if you have a partner that you're doing court with or oral argument with, you can share that with them. All right, the very last thing we're going to look at is something called Lexis for Microsoft Office. So Lexis for Microsoft Office is a really cool tool. It is a download into your document, but what's really nice about it is it also kind of marries research and drafting. So for 1Ls, you only have limited functionality, and I will show you the first bit of functionality that you have. So basically I've went in here and I've said prepare TOA, and what this is doing is reading through our document, grabbing all of those citations, and you select your jurisdiction, right? So you can select, Tennessee Supreme Court or Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals or however it is you want, and then it's going to give you a listing, and then you can add headings, kind of tweak it however you like, and then we simply say insert TOA. Okay, and what it does is insert your TOA into the document for you. And then if you change sections, so you move section C to section B, you can just click Update TOA. Another really nice thing that you all can do as 1Ls is you have the ability to check quotes. So similarly, what it's going to do is read through your documents. Anytime it sees those quotation marks, if you will, it will go in there and check those quotes with the corresponding citation associated with those quotes. And so then it will give you, similarly to what we just saw, this kind of split screen where you have a list of your quotations and then links into the underlying source documents. The really important part is it will also alert you if it detects any problems. So even like a comma being off, it will give you an alert that there's a potential problem. So this says, yep, you're good. This says there's a problem. You click on that. This is what you have. This is what the source text says, and then you can just say use source text, and it will actually change the language in your document for you. The last thing that 1Ls can't do, but is really helpful, it'll switch over this summer, and you'll be able to use it in your summer jobs, is check cite format. This is the best part. So what it's going to do is it's going to read through your document, just like we have done with the other two steps. It's going to grab all of your citations, and it's going to generate a similar report to what we just saw. It's going to alert you to where there's a problem, so then we can click here. This is what you have. This is what it's suggesting. Use suggestion, and it will actually change it in your document, or you can say correct all, and it will change all of them. That is all. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and good luck.